the left hand doesn't need to know what the right hand is doing.
Uh-huh.
And I never understood it. I was like, oh, whatever, dad's talking, bah. I understood it. He was like, do what you have to do. You don't need to publicize.
Hello, welcome to Transcending Boundaries. I'm Reeta Roy. My guest today is a visionary leader who has transformed social entrepreneurship and child empowerment globally. Born in Mumbai, India, to socially conscious parents, her journey of service began early. At the age of just 12, she launched a savings initiative for women in her household. And that spark grew into a lifelong mission to advocate for women's rights, children's rights, and financial empowerment. She is the founder of several groundbreaking social ventures, including Meljo, Childline India, Child Helpline International, Aflatoun International, and Child and Youth Finance International. Her initiatives span over 100 countries, impacting millions by advancing financial literacy, child protection, and systemic change. She herself has overcome significant challenges, from gender bias to cultural barriers, and she's done so with remarkable resilience. She founded Catalyst 2030, a movement of social entrepreneurs advancing global collaboration to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. At the One Family Foundation, which she also founded, she supports the growth of social innovators. And now she's launching a governing council on social innovation with several governments. Please join me in welcoming a fearless innovator, a trailblazer in social entrepreneurship, a champion for local voices, and a global advocate for children and young people, Jeroo Billimoria. Jeroo, thank you so much for being here. You are a powerhouse, a social innovator, someone who believes so much in the dignity of the human spirit. You believe in reaching people who don't often have the same opportunities. That's how you've led your entire life. And yet, even for a powerhouse, they were early beginnings. Childhood, early years, which shaped who you became. I know you grew up in Mumbai to a family which is very socially conscious. Will you tell us about that childhood, about your parents?
First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk with you, Reeta. And I'm a big fan of yours because you embody everything in terms of a total different leadership style. So it's a super pleasure to be having this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Mommy and Daddy shaped me to who I am today. I have to say, firstly, being born in a Parsi household, as you know, we are brought up on three things: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And we are told that should be the philosophy of your life. And Mom was a professional social worker, so she was very much from my childhood saying that you have to learn to give back. And that is something which you have to do. And we were not super rich, but we were okay. So it was always that you don't need much. What we have is enough. The rest you have to give back. And I think that's the philosophy which has kept me to date. And she gave me, I always say, a lot of the theoretical orientation, because I remember sitting with her and her talking about different theories of change at that time.
Wow.
So it was really something which we grew up with, on how we should do social work practice, how it has to be community centric, all the fancy terms we're talking now, I sort of grew up on them. And then there was Dad, who was much more conservative. Mom was this liberal backpacker, traveled through Europe alone. She was born in 1928, so you can imagine. Oh. And there was Dad, relatively conservative, an accountant, and his whole theory was, you have to be kind. You have to be gentle. So he always thought, and he said, charity starts at home. So look after all your relatives, look after the staff that we have at home, and look after the community. So for me, when I grew up, I had this theory and Dad's strong emphasis on just being kind and gentle and supporting. And when Dad died, I really think it was a changing moment for me, because I still remember his body, and then all of a sudden the word got out and there was a long queue of people. Like our house door had to be opened, and there was, like, we were on the second floor right through till the ground floor. All of a sudden, everyone from the streets just wanted to pay respects. I asked, what's happening? Mummy didn't know it. And then one by one we started talking, and they said, Unhone, sorry, I'm speaking in Hindi, but he did this for us, he did this for us, he helped us. So all of a sudden, it for me clicked that you need the theory, you need the kindness, and when you do something, he always used to say the left hand doesn't need to know what the right hand is doing. And I never understood it. I was like, oh, whatever, Dad's talking, bah. I understood it. He was like, do what you have to do, you don't need to publicize it. And I think that's something which has really, really stayed with me on and shaped my thinking to be an honest broker, to be someone to start things, hand over, and stay in the background. Means, of course, you have to do meetings and all the thing which goes with the job, as you know.
Yes.
But just that.
Yeah. No, it's such a beautiful philosophy about good thoughts and good deeds. Now, I understand that those good deeds started at home, and you were, 12 years old, 13 years old, when you really wanted to do something for the staff who worked at home, the women who worked at home, and Mom helped you.
Yes.
What's the story?
Financial education, which later also. So in India, unfortunately, at least in the staff who worked in my house, their husbands used to abuse them because they were alcoholics. And then they would take away the money from them, which they earned. And I think all the activism and everything, I couldn't understand it. I was like, why do you not have money? And they were constantly in debt because of that. So all of a sudden, Mom said, okay, if you want to do something about it, start. Ask them what will help them. And I think the point was that, we have Diwali, and Indians, we love our jewelry. So Mom and Dad used to give them gold or silver, depending. Or if there was a big occasion, we would always give them some jewelry as a thank you. And always it was gone because it was taken away and sold. So then I asked, so Mom said, if you have to listen to them, you have to ask them. And I asked them, and they said they never have any money and they want their children to have a better life, but they don't think it will happen. So since Dad was very financially aware, he had taught me a lot. I said, okay, so what about starting bank accounts? And they were very scared, the banks. So I said, why don't we go to the bank? I went with them to the bank. The bank manager laughed me out. He knew my parents. Then I said, Mom, you have to come with me. So we went. That time there was no KYC, but they really wouldn't. So we had to guarantee them. They opened the bank accounts. And I'm happy to say, when we were last in touch, the woman had, so we started with the two women who worked with us. They had bought houses, their sons had graduated and had good jobs.
Wow.
And sort of we could see that financial empowerment. One of them said, yeah, my daughter-in-law also can't do anything. I have, and we got them pension funds. So for me, the idea that financial security was very important. It started with learning from them. And for me, that was really, really a turn. And my mom, without me realizing it, instituted in my brain a philosophy for my work, which is always listen to your community before you do anything.
Yes.
So
don't assume. Listen.
Exactly.
Learn.
Yeah.
And you took that experience of listening and learning. I think it's been true all your life and all through your career. And I know that the early parts of your career, you started working with people who were homeless in the US.
Yes.
Yeah, before you built something incredible in India to help children. But I think the first order of the day was listening.
Yes. Yes.
What happened with working with the homeless?
Working with the homeless, first of all, we identified because our skin, they always used to say, your skin and our skin is the same, you know, in many ways. So
Where was
it was in New York. I'm sorry,
York
I should
City?
have said that.
Okay.
In New York City, when I was doing my master's in management, in nonprofit management at the New School. So I worked with the Coalition for the Homeless as an intern, and I used to do their community outreach. And I think for me, I realized that it was always charity for the homeless which was happening, and we needed to shift it into them having employment. And for the biggest shock working with the homeless is that how lonely they were, how badly they were treated. And I went into the tunnels where they used to sleep. So for me, it was really a shock about the loneliness, but also that if we could empower them and if they got a house and a job, they could get out of the situation. So that was the takeaway. And it also made me realize I need to work with street kids. That would be the first thing. Initially, I wanted to focus on women's rights because of that. So came back, and Dr. Armaiti Desai and my mom, the then director of TIS, between them, they said, you're working at Tata Institute. I wasn't given much of a choice. I was just informed, you know.
Yeah, you will work there.
Yeah. So I was, okay, I'm going to work there, but my passion is street kids. So because of the homeless, I'm going to work with street kids. And because we had had a phone line where I used to help the homeless get into shelters every night, I said, I'm going to start finding out. And I asked the street kids, and the same principle of listening, what would you want to do? For them, they said, all of you, and it's a Hindi word, uncles and didis, that's what social workers are called, elder sister and uncle. All of you go home at 9 o'clock. We are the ones who are left on the streets. So what do you care about us? For you, you have a job, you all make lots of money at our expense. We are the ones who are left with nothing. I said, okay. First of all, to be clear, I'm teaching, my money comes from there, but I want to listen to you and you need to tell me what would you like? And it was actually their idea that they would have someone to call. So I said, okay. And they used to come to my house. So it started because they used to call me at all hours of the night. And then sometimes my mom was fantastic. Sometimes they would stay the night at my house if they were unwell or something. So my house was a semi-drop-in center at a point. And my office at Tata Institute, I had the security come to me saying that this is not good enough at a certain stage. But anyway, so we started with starting a phone line, which was my own 7-digit. But they said, this is not going to be good enough because, Didi, today I'm in Bombay. Tomorrow, if I want to, I'll take a train and go to Pune. Then do you expect me to remember another number? I was like, okay, so we have to get we need to get a 4-digit number or a 3-digit number. That took 2 years to get, but we got that number. And then they gave us a number 1098, and I was like, how are we going to remember that? So I said, sorry guys, I don't have a choice. This is the number. So they said, oh, see how dumb you are. You don't. They actually told me that. They said, it's so easy. Thus, now, art. 1098. So I said, oh yeah, okay. So that's what became the catchphrase for Childline, where it became thus now art, 1098, Childline mere saath. That means Childline is with me. And because no one was willing to fund a project for street kids by street kids, which it was in the initial phase, the street kids did their own survey. So we did drawings and photocopied it. And then they went and asked others what would be the main service, the training. They staffed it. So for me, my learning over here was two, other than the listening and building. The second was the community can solve their own problems. And I think, so these were the two things. And their guts and courage, it still inspires me to date. If I'm stuck, I'm like, what would they say? What can I take forward? And the spirit of the streets, the bindas, they had nothing, but they could find joy in going in the rain and playing in the rain. That was the joy. So I also start becoming less of a pampered brat and more, who was spoiled, and just learning to appreciate the positives, even the smallest thing. So I also stopped grumbling, and it became my philosophy, the grass is always full,
That's a beautiful story. You must have met some extraordinarily young, bright, creative, tenacious young people.
Definitely, definitely. And they still, to date, if I go to Bombay, at a certain point in the night, I'll just go and do a night round, talking to the kids or whatever, to listen what they are saying.
Wow. When did the words social entrepreneur come into the vocabulary? I see your face has changed.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Honestly, I didn't know that word. It was when Ashoka approached me and they wanted to give the Ashoka Fellowship to me, and they said, "You're a social entrepreneur." I said, "Huh? What? Okay, I'm a social worker." They said, "No, because you're using business principles, because Childline's whole management model is a social franchise model adapted for the sector." That also had a philosophy, but I'll say that. But so I said, "Okay, I'm a social entrepreneur, whatever." And that was it. But it bothered me, this term social entrepreneur, I'll be honest with you, because everyone was made into fashionable heroes, and I just don't like the hero culture. I don't like that. Firstly, I hate being in the limelight. As you know, even if there's a photo, I'll try to hide at the back. So part of it is who I am. But also this whole Childline would not have been Childline were it not for the street kids who gave me the courage to do it. Were it not for my students who worked and the first core team which came on board, and then the 11,000 team members we had as we expanded. So for me, the learning was that it's not really the social entrepreneur. Yes, there is a certain amount where you sort of have the idea and take it forward, but it's everyone and it's the community. And therefore, if we have to bring about social change, we are all innovators in our own way bringing about the change.
Yes.
So that was my learning, and that's what I've pushed with Ashoka, with school, with Schwab, and I think slowly the term which is coming is that. And I think the biggest innovators are actually in the government sector, when we did the partnership with the government, and that has also, they have a passion for change. So it's finding the right people, you know. So
finding the right people who believe in this.
yes, in the government. So with Childline, when we started in India, to go national, I had, being an accountant's daughter, the first thing I do is back of the envelope accounts. And I did the math and I was like, the largest organization in India which fundraised then was CRY. And I looked at what their budget would be, and I said, we'll need 5 times that if we have to make Childline a national service. It's not going to work. So we need to partner. So from year one, we started cultivating the government, finding the right people. And honestly, Childline could become in every district of India, mainly because of our partnership with the government. And now finally, the government has taken it over, which I think is in some ways really very good. So I wish they continue the partnership with civil society also.
That's remarkable. That's a remarkable story about starting or enabling or listening and going with young people who wanted to start something to help themselves and help each other to something which is now national across India. It's remarkable. Now, at some point in the story, you left India and you've moved to the Netherlands. How did that come about? And what was that experience like to go to a country this large, this complex, so diverse, to a small country in Europe?
So one reason my husband, Bertian, whom you've met, and is
so
super
fabulous human
fantastic, amazing
being.
human being.
Fabulous
So
human being.
I was really lucky to find him. And actually, my street kids made the marriage happen.
How did that happen?
So there were 4 PwC people who were on a special leadership course. And
this
they
is
were
now here it's not the acronym, here it's the firm, the accounting firm.
Yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is then now PwC, and they had come for this leadership course. And they took a liking to my husband, and because he's 2 meters tall, they thought he was a nice tree to climb. So they would start here and then go and sit on his shoulders, and that was their how do you call it? Their hobby to do while he was around. So they decided that this man is going to be nice for Didi. And I didn't realize it then, but they kept pushing us together. And then my team caught on, and well, the rest is history. We are very, touch wood, very happily married. So they pushed towards that, and that's why when we got married also, we had the official marriage, but we had a marriage which was designed by the street kids. So they always wanted to be part of a Hindu, like a film marriage. So one of our main marriage occasions was a Hindi filmy marriage, because they said we were the ones who made this happen, Didi. This is how it will be. So well, that's the story and the secret behind my marriage. I moved to Netherlands, and honestly, it was very, very lonely because it was a small country. I knew nobody. And I wanted to do something, and I'd made a commitment. I didn't want to take Childline global because I didn't like brand building and creating a global organization, but there was something which we could spread. So I had made a commitment to help some countries, and there I was not speaking the language. So I think it was a tough few years. It's still sometimes a tough few years because the NGO sector in India is super vibrant. It's not as vibrant in the Netherlands. My Dutch is passable, but most often they think I'm a cleaner. That's how bad my Dutch is, which is, so it's been a challenge. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep, leave it
but
there.
It gave me the opportunity, and that I'm really grateful for, to start acting on a global stage. So I'm very grateful for that, because I would never have gone global otherwise in that sense.
Yes, and Jeroo, you've started organizations which have always supported children, whether it's children's literacy, children's safety, their self-discovery, their actual self-determination. So that has been extraordinary, and you have done it on a global scale. So one of the organizations which comes back to a movement, creating a movement, I think you called it Catalyst 2030, a movement of other like-minded individuals across the world who were doing things to change lives in their community, but they were doing it in a manner which also listened, empowered, included the very community who had to change their own lives. Talk about the experience of setting something up, and at the same time, what is so powerful, not trying to control. Even the very way you went about it allowed for this community of amazing individuals to drive and to set the direction.
Yeah. So, as I said, I was part of Ashoka, School, Schwab, Echoing Green, and there was a small group of us who used to keep meeting regularly. And because social entrepreneurs, or as we say, everyone's an innovator, but the ones who started organizations, they realized all of them in their work, they were hitting a glass ceiling, because you can, help 100 million people, but then with your organizing. So we all thought, if we came together, firstly, it's a very lonely journey being a social entrepreneur. So it was, let's just have each other to talk to. And then the other thing was, how can we get what we now call the Big Four to work together so we can actually create an ecosystem? So we kept talking in different meetings, and then we said, let's just try making something happen. Nobody was willing to fund it because the reputation of... So there were 3 myths about social entrepreneurs. One was that they don't want to work together. So we said, we're going to break that myth. The second was the funding ecosystem was very project-based, and we said we don't want that, and we need to shift that into, like what MasterCard is doing. MasterCard supports us beyond, So that is there. So that we wanted to change the funding ecosystem. That's why you got the special recognition in the awards right in the first year, And then the third part was, we need to create some sort of a way where governments start recognizing us. So these were the 3 things which we said we are going to be trying to change. Today, the community is in I think 140 countries now. We have active chapters of social entrepreneurs in 100+ countries, and now we have city chapters starting. And we have 120 collaborations without funding.
Without funding.
So all of this is done organically without funding, proving that social entrepreneurs can and will and want to collaborate. So we broke the first myth. Through the Catalyst Awards and through numerous working groups and all, we have noticed that there is a shift in the donor ecosystem. And we have this self-assessment tool, which some of our social entrepreneurs developed, where we are noticing the shift on how people are moving into more, unrestricted funding, multi-year funding, etc. So we see that shift. And the last challenge was, how do we work with governments? So on that, we started involving governments, and then the German government actually sent a letter with other governments saying, why don't we start the Government Council on Social Innovation?
So that's the next big
That's
level.
the next big level. Yeah.
So that's very exciting.
And Catalyst is now, I'm so proud to say, I handed that over in July. We have two of the most fantastic people who were right there from, so we had 100 co-founders to Catalyst. And two of those co-founders are now running it, and they are moving it to the next S curve. And it's fantastic to watch.
That is fantastic.
It's really, really.
That is fantastic. What do you think it takes to create something, or to catalyze something, or to nurture something, and then to let it flourish?
So in Hinduism, we have a philosophy of karma and dharma. It's also very strong in Zoroastrianism, but I'm using the two words which are there. Karma is do what you have to do, and dharma is let it go and let it flourish. So all through, again, that was what my parents have instilled in me, is do your job and then let it go. So after Childline, I started it. I stepped off to the board. Same for Childline International when we did 100 countries. Then for Aflatoun, so when CHI reached, this Child Helpline reached 134 countries, I said my role is done. I'm gone. Then we the same for Aflatoun, which again you all helped with. And then for CYFI, took the next step. We actually shut it down, because we thought the organization's role was over, and handed it over to OECD and ITC, because we thought they could do more of the impact. So for me, the philosophy is the organization doesn't matter, the person doesn't matter after a point, because there are better people who can do it. And I have to say, I am blessed, because so far I've done a lot of successions, and touch wood with everything, the organizations have done 10 times better than when with me.
You're amazing.
So,
just
really
amazing. And now you've started your own family foundation. But there's a really critical ingredient here, which we didn't talk about when you met Bertien, that two other members became part of the family.
Yes. So again, this was my mother's strong influence. My mother was the first person to talk about adoption in India and institutionalize adoption. And she wanted to create the Indian Adoption Act. So she always told me, yes, I had you all as children, but I was on my learning journey. Jeroo, you need to adopt. There are a lot of children. And then she told me, you cannot adopt younger children, because babies everybody wants. That's for themselves. It's the older children who get left behind, who are the ones who need adopting. So if you adopt, you have to adopt older children. Now I'm very brainwashed by my mom, as you can see by now.
Yes.
So,
Remarkable.
Childline had rescued through Police Chacha program, Lakshmi and Guru. One of my teachers who was on the child welfare committee said, Jeroo, these children were given for adoption and they have been returned, because my daughter is challenging, to put it mildly. And because they have been returned, now they are going to be split, brother and sister. So it's going to be a challenge, but why don't you adopt them? I said, okay, let's do it. And that's we came. And to the credit of Lakshmi and Guru, my children, when they became in their 10th anniversary, of adoption. We sort of celebrated it as a milestone. They said, Mom, Dad, we were really lucky that we got you, even though we don't always say it. And she was cute enough to say, even though I make your life hell. Very sweetly. She said, we need to give back. And that's where One Family Foundation got born. And Lakshmi and Guru, less Guru, more Lakshmi. She got her school and classmates together and they gave their pocket money and everything. And they said, we are going to start sending money back to India. So they did their own survey. They found out what they wanted to give. And it wasn't large amounts of money. It didn't really need a foundation, but they wanted it, so we set it up. And then, you know, like as they grew older, somehow they outgrew that, Leeta, believe it or not.
Wow.
So then Mom got stuck with the foundation, but it really became a very good grounds to just incubate ideas which will fail. So what, again, so now in One Family Foundation, if someone says this is definitely going to fail, then that's a good place. So Catalyst, initially, as I said, no one wanted to fund us. We incubated it, you know, and well, now Catalyst, I'm so proud to say, in December, they got their 5.0, the US registration, and it's totally going out. Now we are incubating the Government Council for Social Innovation, and we still don't have a name, but the tentative name is the Distributed Development Platform, which is going to be built by the community, for the community. So going back to my street kids roots.
Yes.
And this one is a 99.9% failure chance.
Okay.
Yeah. So for this, we are even putting in all the MVP money. We've put everything in all on our own. And we are not rich, please, I want to be very clear. So these two, I hope the Government Council takes off. The government of Luxembourg is launching it in April. So hopefully we will start creating the government ecosystem and government policies, and there's a lot of work which is already started on it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm hoping every government can create a social innovation policy, which is co-created by the social innovators and the social community in Catalyst. So we are already seeing that transition which is taking place. But then when I was in my 3 trips before, my street kids, when I had one of my nightly walks, were like, people are forgetting us. India is getting richer, we are getting forgotten. So this distributed, whatever the name it shows up being, is going to be a community platform, co-created with the community, by the community. So, I don't, this one I'm very worried about, I'll be honest. Maybe in 2 years I'll be saying I failed. But if it succeeds, it will be shifting development and putting development and the community in charge of their own change.
I just love the fact that your primary criteria is to select something, an idea, a concept that is almost guaranteed to fail without nurturing, without incubation, without an opportunity to actually succeed or to become something different. So that's fantastic. You are, I meant what I said when you're a powerhouse, and in so many ways you're unstoppable. Unstoppable. And I was saying that I know Mom's no longer with us, but when you look back and you think about that young Jeroo, that 12-year-old, that 18-year-old, that 24-year-old who was busy doing things, acting, taking action, and you see other young people like that today who have that sense of idealism, who want to do things, may not always have the right tools or the right exposure. What's your advice?
Well, follow your heart is my first thing. And my second is enjoy life and don't take yourself seriously. Really. Because if you take yourself too seriously, your ego is driving you and your decisions are taken by your ego. That's my reason. So follow your heart, follow your passion, give 24 hours, 7 if you have to, if you have the energy to it, but genuinely enjoy life. Don't. Remember, we are 10 billion people in the world, and if you look at the forests, the trees, the whole earth and the galaxy. We are one drop in a trillion or quadrillion, God alone knows. Enjoy life, let it flow.
Let it flow.
Let it flow, let it go. You know.
Wow. What's next, Jeroo?
These 2 projects and hopefully grandkids.
That's great.
No, that's going to take some time, but
No,
yeah.
that's wonderful. That's also about generational change.
Yeah.
And values enduring. You've had an extraordinary experience working with so many different types of people on different issues, different parts of the world. I just wondered if you reflected as a woman in this field, as much as we think women are everywhere, and they are, what was it like? And what were moments where you learned something about yourself, but also about what it really takes to support other women?
So I think in this sector we need more women, because women come with a more collaborative mindset. We by and large want to help each other. I've also met some women who want to put you down. I don't want to deny that. So you have both sides. But by and large, at least I'll speak for myself, I am who I am because of really powerful women, role models who have been there and shaped me, other than my mom, Dr. Almighty Desai, who was my professor in Tata Institute, who supported me. So at least in India, I found really strong role models. And even in Catalyst, I see they come with a lot of things. But more important for me is I saw the women in the communities, who had so much adversity and always had a smile on their face. So I think for me, the true essence of feminism is that inner strength and smile, which I don't know, which it's not a tangible. I don't think I could articulate it with like this or this, but it's the inner resilience. But resilience, I feel, okay, I'm not doing a great job on this, so I apologize, but it's that inner sense of going on, whatever it takes. And I think that's what a lot of women have.
You were on a track when you said that this is not it's not just an adjective, or it's not a phrase. It's something about the human spirit.
Yes.
That wants to survive, that wants to thrive, and that also it's almost a force for perseverance.
And a force for good.
And a force for
change.
And a force for change.
Yes, and I think that is what embodies femininity to me. The positive force for change and goodness. And I think that's what I've seen in my work across the years with the community, the social innovators, the women in government who have that across the whole board. And I think my powerful allies have always been women. Of course, men also. I'm not saying it's minus them, but I think they've been always very, very powerful.
And how do we cultivate more of that and help people tap into that inner strength that they have?
I think by talking about it, Reeta, more and more, because in a sense, women are almost taught in school and all that to succeed, you have to be like a man. It's, that's the sort of, so they force the type A personality in a woman rather than the feminine, nurturing, inclusive personality, which is, I think, almost by default in a lot of women. And I see this much more. India has very strong women and they do everything, and very rarely will I see them trying to push. And this is not a negative, but in the global phase, I feel I am not as powerful as a woman because my leadership style is not this super assertive, make myself known in the room type of a leadership style. So I do think in many ways, because that is not recognized, it's a disadvantage. I have to say with Catalyst it wasn't, but when I was working with central bankers and CYFI, definitely. So I think it depends on the situation also. But I wish the nurturing feminine, inclusive style could be much more nurtured in women and enshrined. I think that would bring about mass scale societal change.
Wow, that is very insightful. And so we will talk about it more. And I'm sure there'll be more occasions to ensure that we don't shy away from things which may seem fuzzy and soft, but really are intrinsically who we are as people.
Exactly.
And to call and to tap into those strengths.
Yes.
What also struck me was when you were talking about working with the homeless in New York, working with street children in India, and a comment you made about your own journey. You used the word loneliness.
Yes.
That people felt alone, that there was no one else who understood them, or that they weren't seen or weren't heard.
Yeah.
And you spoke about the social entrepreneurs, the social change agents' journey as often being a lonely journey.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk more about that loneliness and how we change loneliness to togetherness.
Yes. So, as I said, when we started Catalyst, those were the three obvious things. But the more we got together, and after the first few years of Catalyst, the thing which people said, which struck me, was I made friends through Catalyst. I had a community of my own I could talk to without having to, you know. And that's when we started realize, and I'm speaking now for me, but I've heard this from many, many social entrepreneurs, is you're doing things, you're starting things. Normally when you have a crazy idea, nobody's really willing to fund it, so you put a lot of your own money, friends and family money in, at least that's what you try. You take the idea forward, you build it, and then I'm quoting a social entrepreneur. They said when corporates exit, they have enough money to be able to have their stocks, their shares, and a quality of life. When a social entrepreneur exits, they have nothing. And probably they've lost their savings in all of it already because they've built the whole thing. And that acknowledgement, and that's also a stress because you can't really talk about it. But now there is a community where they are able to share these sort of worries and concerns. It's also very tough for many people on family life with social entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of loneliness for myself, and I think therefore we have realized Catalyst is a community of like-minded souls, and then all the other fellowships which help with that. For my own self, I think it was trying to prove an idea initially. It's very lonely because you're not sure about it. I have been truly, truly, truly blessed, and I say this because when I was in India, my mom was there, and I think I brainstormed every idea on the dinner table. And now with my husband, to the effect that sometimes my team will say, I'm stuck, and they'll say, why don't you go home and talk to Bertian? And, but that also made me realize the need, and this is why I said enjoy life, realize the need that you need to have that ecosystem of friends. You need to take time off. I didn't do it when I was young, and again, I was blessed. My friends used to take me from work saying, we are taking you to dinner, we'll deposit you back, but you are taking that time. But having that makes me the whole person to give more. And it would be very lonely otherwise. And sometimes, despite all of that, when one's curating the idea, and like for the distributed development platform, whatever its name will be, I feel very lonely because I'm not sure I'm being able to sell the idea too well. It's very clear in my brain, but I know I'm failing. So that thought process in itself for me is also a very alone process. I don't know.
No, you're talking about a solitary process.
Yeah.
And sometimes it may not be well understood
Yes.
because you can't yet fully articulate it in a way that lands and allows others to help and support. Yeah.
Yes. So sometimes just having a fellow social worker or a friend or a social entrepreneur to talk, and then so the process which could make you feel lonely, having a community sheds that weight off.
Yes, very, very good. I think we all need people who see us, who love us despite ourselves.
Yes.
And even when we goof and even when we fail, help us continue to believe in ourselves.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about. That's
exactly.
really the essence of a community.
Yes, that's the essence. That's the essence of Catalyst, but that's also the essence of the personal ecosystem which you develop. And I think sometimes we don't nurture. I'll speak from my young age. When I was young, I didn't nurture it as much. But the older I have got, the more I've learned to value it. So I was truly blessed that my friends just ignored me and didn't allow me to take myself too seriously.
Yes.
But I think, so my one thing to young entrepreneurs, when they start out, and that's why I say enjoy life, don't take yourself too seriously. Otherwise, one will put oneself into this box of which could lead to more loneliness.
Yeah. I think it's a very powerful lesson, working with the homeless as you did in New York and working with these street kids when they talked about the need to have community as well. So it's, again, all those good ideas, all those things we should know about ourselves. Sometimes we have to be told.
Yes. And the single largest calls in helplines today are for loneliness.
Wow.
Yep. So we have a very young generation which is very lonely despite all the social media there is.
Yes.
Especially in Europe, but increasingly around the world.
And what do you think we should do about that? If you were on the other end of that telephone when a call comes in and someone says, I'm lonely.
Yes.
Or I'm not sure. Or I'm working on something and I've no one to talk to. What do you say to them?
I can say what the helplines say. They listen to it and try to explain to people, listening. Let's say 1 to 9 is listening because that's what the person wants. And then is really asking them to create that ecosystem and talk to people and do it. But it's easier said than done because of social media. So, yeah, I think we need to change social media and create something where we are able to really, really, do something different, where we encourage more physical, in-person interactions.
Yes.
That is what is really important.
And real connections.
And real connections, which in today's society, 1,000 friends is not worth one physical interaction.
No, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeroo.
Thank you very much, Reeta, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, always talking to you. Jeroo Billimoria's life and career exemplify the transformative power of social entrepreneurship and advocacy for children and young people worldwide. From a socially conscious daughter in Mumbai to a trailblazer in global child protection. From founder of Childline India to architect of social entrepreneurship movements. From a young kid spearheading savings at the age of 12 to a globally recognized leader in financial literacy and youth empowerment. Jeroo Billimoria is an extraordinary leader. She's an extraordinary example of transcending boundaries.